this live?
No. However, we are taping it like it's live. So
Okay.
through the magic of live, at the speed of live, we are live. So Vicki, by the way, you have got a great setup there. Your lighting is fantastic. You're centered perfectly. It's like you've done this before. So whatever you're doing, keep it up, my friend.
Yes, I work on it. I'm making progress. Okay, but thank you.
So we have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast, and she is just amazing. She is a fantastic author. Vicki Cody is with us today. And Vicki, talk to us a little bit about your latest project, my friend.
Okay, James. Well, thanks for having me today. I'm glad to be here. So my latest book was published last year, and it's called Fly Safe, Letters from the Gulf War and Reflections from Back Home. And this book is based on the letters that my husband wrote me during the first Gulf War back in 1990-91, and my journal entries, and I put it all together with my narrative, and it tells a story of Desert Storm, and at the same time it gives readers a real glimpse into the combat zone. My husband was flying Apache helicopters, so they get a feel for what it's like flying that helicopter. And my journal entries give readers a glimpse of what it's like back home for the families waiting for their soldiers.
We have got a great guest with us today. Vicki Cody is with us. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. She has penned a fantastic book, Your Soldier, Your Army, A Family Guide, and she's with us today here on our big broadcast. So, Vicki, tell us a little bit about the writing process to bring this book to life.
Well, that was my first endeavor at writing, and it came about basically as a result of September 11th, 2001, and everything that happened in the aftermath. I know that day was a life changer for all Americans, but for those of us with loved ones in the military, it truly changed. It was a game changer. And my husband was a two-star general at the time, and we had both sons just starting their careers, and they both started deploying soon after. Our oldest son was in Afghanistan 6 months after September 11th. And when I kind of shifted from being an Army wife all those years, and then suddenly I'm the mom of two soldiers who are deploying, I realized I had so much to offer all those other parents and families out there, because at that point, my husband and I had been married for probably 25, 30 years. So I decided to write a small booklet that I gave to the Army to hand out for free, and it's available to all parents of soldiers, and it just kind of guides them through and talks them through the military in general, but also deployments. And it really just kind of got me started and led me down this path. After I wrote that, and it was so well received, I decided to tackle a memoir, and then I wrote Army Wife, which was published in 2015, and then that led to the newest book, Fly Safe.
That's awesome. So, comparing all your books, compare and contrast the books.
Okay, so, well, the booklet that's free of charge for all Army families or military families, that's a very, not limited, but I'm really just talking as a parent of soldiers deploying and those kinds of things. And it's a great resource for families and parents of soldiers. Army Wife encompasses the 33 years of our life as an Army couple. And that book, that was a huge undertaking, and it took me quite a few years to write it. But that was everything from the day I met my husband when he was a cadet at West Point all the way up to, he rose to the rank of 4-star general, and it goes all the way through then ends with his retirement from the Army in 2008. And that book really just tells the whole story of what it's like to live this very unique way of life, the ups and downs, the great joys, the wonderful people that we met along the way, the experiences, all of that. And as that book, towards the end of that book, that's when our sons were coming into the service, and so I dealt with, their combat deployments. So then after I wrote that book, I realized I really wanted to tackle one subject, which was the first Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm. That's when I wrote Fly Safe, based it on the letters my husband wrote me. So that's a more in-depth and very personal look at my journey. But what I try to do with all my books and everything I write about is make it relatable to just about anybody. I talk about life lessons and how to face challenges in everyday life and hurdles. You don't have to just be a military spouse to relate to what I write about. So it's a lot of those things, and my goal is always to give readers a glimpse of this very unique way of life. Maybe they come away with a new understanding, a new appreciation for the brave men and women that wear the uniform and serve this nation, and also the families who stand beside them.
We have got a great guest with us today. Vicki Cody is with us. She joins us this week here on our big program, and she's an award-winning author. She's a wife of a decorated military hero, mom of 2 Apache helicopter pilots, and she is a fantastic author, and she joins us today here on our big program. So your latest book, tell me a little bit about what some of your goals are for this book.
Well, the latest book, Fly Safe, basically I wanted to take readers back to 1990, 1991, to a time when we had no cell phones, no FaceTime texting, none of that technology. I didn't even own a personal computer at that point. So when my husband and his fellow soldiers, when they deployed to Operation Desert Storm, we went weeks without communication. I had to sometimes go into his office at the headquarters if I wanted to get a message to him, or just to get on the phone and hear his voice. And I really could only use that for emergencies. It's not like I could pick up the phone and call him. So I wanted to take this generation back to what that would be like when you send your loved one off and you don't know when they arrive at their destination, how they're doing. I actually saw my husband on TV, on CNN, before I ever heard from him. And that's how I knew he was safe. I saw him giving an interview, and it was like, oh, great, he's fine, he's safe. So we relied on handwritten letters, and I think that was probably the last time that our generation was using handwritten letters to communicate. Certainly by the time our sons were deploying, there was a little bit of emailing and internet, but not always. I have to backtrack there, because when our oldest son first got to Iraq and the war really began, again, I went about 6 weeks without hearing from him, because there were no services. There were no lines of communication for back here. But anyway, so Fly Safe, I try to give a realistic look at what it was like for me and our sons back home and all the other families that I was surrounded by. And I think I'm very honest about it. It wasn't all smooth sailing. It wasn't all perfect, but somehow we made it work. And out of all of that, I learned to enjoy the little things in life, spending time with our sons, who were 11 and 13 at the time. And I would never trade those 9 months that I had with the 2 boys, and some of the things that we did. And we had a great time in spite of everything that was going on around us. So I talk a lot about that too in my writings, how to get through the challenges and come out of it better off, and find those silver linings in even the challenging times in life.
We have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. Vicki Cody is with us. She is amazing. She is a fantastic writer. Talk to us a little bit about your writing style.
Well, James, I tend to just write from the heart. I just start writing what is swirling through my head, and I think that it's a very relatable way, and it's just all I know. I like to write memoir. I like to write about the truth. I like to write about real things that happen and real people. People have said to me, "Oh, why don't you try your hand at fiction?" I wouldn't even know how to begin to make up something. I feel like
that is awesome. I wouldn't even know how to.
It's such an incredible journey that you couldn't script it, quite frankly. So I write about all these crazy things, wonderful things, stressful things, sad and poignant things too. So my style is to just kind of lay it out there and bare my soul, and because to me that's what memoir is about.
It is Vicki Cody. She's with us today. She joins us live. Now, how do we get your books?
Okay, my books are available wherever books are sold, on Amazon. The first book that I wrote for the Army, Your Soldier, Your Army, A Family Guide, that's available through ausa.org. That's it. And that is free of charge. And people can download it for free. They can order it and get actual copies of it. And all of that is free. My other two books, Army Wife and Fly Safe, are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, wherever books are sold. And I always give a shout out to the indie bookshops. Give them a chance. They order my books too, so you don't always have to just do Amazon. There's always those little corner bookstores.
We have got Vicki Cody with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. So, when the latest book that you have out, what's been some feedback you've gotten on the book so far?
Well, I've had some great feedback, and a lot of guys, men have read it, both military, civilian. They all say that it really captured what that time was like. And of course, in that book, I talk about my husband's mission. He actually fired the first shots of the war. So I kind of build up to that big mission. That's all playing out while I'm doing my little thing back home with the kids. And so I feel like there's some drama, some good drama in this book that appeals to male readers as well. And the military people all say, every one of them says that what I've written took them right back to those days, if they're in my age group and they lived through it. I've heard from younger readers that have said they never knew much about Desert Storm and the first Gulf War, and it gave them a great historic perspective of that time. So I've had really positive feedback, and everyone says that my writing is, they feel like they're sitting down having a conversation with me.
That's awesome. It is Vicki Cody. She's with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. And so, Vicki, this latest book that you have out, what are some of your goals for this book? What are you hoping this book accomplishes?
Well, I'd like to take readers back to a time when we had no internet, no texting, no iPhones, and we relied on handwritten letters, which for some in this younger generation, they wouldn't even know what that's like, to not be able to pick up the phone and call somebody. So I love taking readers back to another time and place. I also want to teach them about, because technically the first Gulf War back in 1990, 1991, that really was the beginning of this decades-long war on terrorism. It all began there. So I like to give readers that whole glimpse and really at the same time a behind the scenes look at what it was like for my husband and his soldiers in the combat zone. And there aren't any books out there written from the spouse's perspective. Any of the military books, they're usually written by the green suiter, the guy that was in uniform, writing it from his perspective. So I like the fact that I think I'm one of the first that tackled a military subject, and I'm the spouse of a soldier. And I like to also give insight into what it's like for the families back home.
Vicki Cody with us today. She joins us live here in our broadcast. Vicki has also penned a manual for the Association of the United States Army, Your Soldier, Your Army, a Family Guide. It has been distributed to over 500,000 families, and this is just an amazing piece of business. And Vicki joins us today here in our broadcast to talk about this book as well as many of her other books. So the book, Fly Safe, what was some of the feedback you got on that?
It's been very positive. People said that it was easy to read. They felt like they were in my shoes. They were living it right alongside me. They felt like they were living my husband's experiences in the combat zone, flying Apache helicopters. So I feel like I captured every angle of that time in history, back in 1990, 91, when we had very little, we had no cell phones, no personal computers, no emailing, and we had to rely on handwritten letters. And so many people have reached out to me and said, oh, I saved the letters my husband wrote me. I never thought to do anything with them, the letters. And the letters my husband sent me, they sat around for over 30 years before I decided to tackle a project and put those into a book.
It is Vicki Cody. She's with us today here on our big broadcast. So, what do you want readers to take away from your writing of your latest book?
With all of my books, but especially this recent one, I want readers to come away with a new understanding or more understanding about the men and women who serve this nation, and also a new appreciation, and at the same time appreciate the families that stand beside these service members. And maybe you see someone on the street that's in uniform, and maybe it inspires you to reach out and thank that service member, because it's not an easy way of life, and soldiers and their families don't expect the thank you. So when they get it, I know that it makes me feel good. So I just hope to shine the spotlight on the brave men and women that serve this nation and the families who stand beside them.
We have got a fantastic guest with us today. She joins us here in our program. Vicki Cody is with us, and she has got some amazing books. So talk to me a little bit about what it's really like to be home alone, thousands of miles away from your spouse or your child, who is basically risking their life and everything overseas.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's the obvious things where in the beginning it's kind of like it's really hard when you say goodbye to a loved one. And for all those years, it was my husband that I was saying goodbye to. And you go through stages where at first you don't want to deal with it. It's like, he would come home and say, Vicki, I'm deploying. And it was kind of like, oh, no, I'm not doing this again type thing. And then the next thing I know, within 24 hours, I pretty much bought into it because I didn't have a choice. So you go through those stages of, you don't want to accept it. Then you start planning and you figure, well, I better go along with this. This is happening. And then when they say goodbye, it's almost, I've written this, it's almost a relief because there's all this buildup of emotions right up until when they're leaving. And it reaches a point where you just kind of want to get that over with. And I talk a lot about, just facing the inevitable, which is letting go of them, letting them get on the plane to go. Because once you do that, you can start counting down the days until they're going to be coming back home, hopefully.
That's awesome.
But I have to say, when our sons deployed, it was far more difficult, more stressful. It was a whole other level of worry for me as a mother. I saw those two boys as just my young boys, and here they are going off to war. And I worried about them in a way that I never worried about my husband, I guess. I missed my husband dearly, and I worried about his safety a little bit, but I always felt like he was indestructible and he would be fine and he would come home. With our sons, it was like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening. They're not old enough. I don't want them to go. And that's why I did a lot of writing during those years. That's when I started the first book for the family guide for the Army, and then I started writing the next memoir, just out of stress and having to do something concrete and tangible to get me through the stressful times. But it's not easy. It's not easy, and it never gets easier.
We've got Vicki Cody with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. Well, Vicki, as we wrap up here, my friend, what's next for you as an author?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm just always looking around me and waiting for that next story to come to me. But right now I'm promoting Fly Safe since it's my most recent book, and I'm hoping that there's something that comes along that inspires me to write another book.
That's awesome. Well, you are amazing. These books are fantastic. Thanks for making some time for us, and I definitely would love to talk to you soon. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you, James. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. There she goes. That is Vicki Cody. And she joined us today here on our big program, and you can get more information on our incredible website at Jiggy